Good morning and happy Wednesday. Do you struggle to find time to insert creativity or art into your life? I think that's a pretty common problem. My name is Robin Reynolds. I believe that creativity is powerful magic, and I'm absolutely smitten with helping people transform their lives and insert more joy and passion. Today it's a beautiful, beautiful morning in Albuquerque. The birds are singing, the sun is shining, and there has been a hummingbird right outside of my window for the past about 15 minutes. So, what a day, right? Thank you for being here with me. And what I would like to offer to you this morning are two things. The first are some high level, sort of conceptual um, ideas for how to find time for creativity. And then I'd like to offer a short list of just very practical, boots to the ground ways to do that. First, I would offer to you that if you know what your high level goals are in life, and I don't mean like ethereally and kind of vaguely, I mean, if you really know, if you've written them down and maybe they're on a post it somewhere, that you can see on a regular basis why you're doing what you do, what are your hopes and dreams, then it's much more likely that you will carry out activities in your life to align with those larger goals. So, what I mean is, creativity and art tends to not be something that we push to the top of the list in our culture or individually. So if you don't list that and focus on that and intentionally sort of drive to that in your life, it's likely that it will get pushed out and left off of the list. So, first suggestion, if you don't know what your goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations are, sit down and write those out. And if creativity makes that list, then make sure to include that and start prioritizing that when you make your choices. Second thing I do often is when I'm faced with a choice about how to spend my time, I ask myself, is it mindful or mindless? Now, I know that there are some things in life that we have to do that are mindless. For instance, I absolutely hate going to the grocery store. Hate it. Because I would much rather be spending my time in my studio or reading a book or something else. But if I want to cook dinner, I have to go to the grocery store. Those aren't the choices I mean. There are a lot of things in life that we do because that's what it takes to live your life. That's what it takes to make the car payment. What I mean is, you have some discretionary choices about how you spend your time. And many of us, myself included, will make those choices out of habit, out of past experience, and just out of sort of being on autopilot. And so, if you start looking at those choices a little more critically and asking, is it mindful or mindless? You'll find that sometimes you'll make some different choices. I'm not saying that watching TV is bad, not at all. But when I am faced with the choice of should I watch television or go to my art studio or read a book, I almost always choose the latter because I know that that's what gives me true joy. And what I'm doing is checking in with myself and going deeper within myself versus checking out and kind of just being numb on autopilot. So, those are some high level ways to really start thinking through the choices that you make in your life that could lead to more time for creativity. The other one I have is huge, and this is a game changer, which is don't think of your creative activity as a separate, discrete activity. Start thinking of yourself as a creative person living a creative life. If you do that, it changes your perspective and it just shifts the whole paradigm. So no longer am I scrambling to sit down and give myself credit to paint for a certain amount of time. I'm just living my life in a way that seeks creativity all the time. There's magic in this because, first of all, there's momentum when you start thinking in that different way. When you start thinking outside of the box. When I go out in the morning, and by the way, I work a full-time job and it's not a creative job, it's a technical job. So I have challenged myself for years now that when I go out of the house in the morning and I go to this job or any of the other things that I do in life, I apply a creative mindset to all of that. So I'm always on this treasure hunt for new ideas, for offering solutions that are not what others might offer and that maybe are a little bit counter to intuition. That's creativity. Creativity is bringing something new into the world. It does not have to be an art piece or a poem or a short story. So, what I'm saying is redefine your definition of creativity. Once you do this, you'll find that that different mindset will create some momentum in your life and you will automatically begin gravitating toward more creative activities and you'll find more time for those things because you'll be attracted to them and you will feel equipped to do those. So, onto the boots to the ground kind of practical stuff. How do you find time to be creative? Well, one, and this I have been doing for years and years and years, I carry a notebook every single place I go. And the reason I do this is your ideas will not come to you at convenient times. When you sit down and say, okie dokie, I'm going to write now. When you do that, often your mind will just be blank and it'll be even hard to figure out what to write. But when you're in the shower, in the morning, when you're driving to work, right before you go to bed, right before you wake up, in the middle of a conversation, you're going to have a ton of really great ideas. And take my word for it, you'll probably forget those if you don't write them down. So, if you take a little notebook and you make a habit of just jotting things down, not feeling silly about that, not making any apologies, just creating that record for yourself, what you're doing is creating prompts for later. I have a process in my life that I call reconciliation. I won't go into details now, but perhaps another time I can talk about it. And that process is what I use to go back on a daily or a weekly basis and kind of comb through those notes and disposition them and decide what's important, what will I carry forward, and what's just junk. Like, make sure I make a dentist appointment. So carry a notebook wherever you go. I think we've already talked about expand your definition of being an artist and of creativity. Think big and broad, and that will help you find more time for creative activities. Another thing I do is I use electronic tools a lot. So when I'm driving and something occurs to me, I'll take a voice note using my phone app. I use something called Notion to capture a lot of my ideas, and I use Scrivener to write. So, whatever electronic tools might help you, use those so that you don't um, lose your precious time and you can use it most effectively. And so you don't lose those ideas that you have. Another one is schedule time to be creative. Take your calendar, look at it, and you might have to start slow and small, but put some time on the calendar to have some downtime, some quiet time to think and to create. And don't feel bad about this. This is part of your um, self care. This is part of grounding yourself in the world. And honestly, I think being creative is part of being human, but our culture and our society and our fast pace has pushed that out. So reclaim that, bring that back for yourself. And the other challenge I have is um, be okay with small chunks of time. It's not ideal. It does take some time to get into that mindset of creating, and I acknowledge that. But for most of us, our lives are too busy to sit down for 2 hours and paint uninterrupted with no distractions. And so let's work within the society, the culture, the paradigm, the lives that we have, and acknowledge that sometimes we may only have 15 minutes, and that's okay. The more you do that, the more you schedule time for yourself and you make yourself a priority, the more your brain gets used to being in that creative space, and it will create a momentum of its own. Believe me, it will. And it's my belief that every time you give yourself this space, this mental paradigm in which to work, you as a person change in a teeny tiny way, imperceptibly. But that's really what we're going for here. When I talk about creativity and art, I don't mean hurry up and get that piece of art done. I don't care at all about the product for myself, and I would suggest that you take the same approach. Who cares what you make? Who cares how good you think it is? Just get in to that creative space because it opens up your mind, it changes who you are, and it's a beautiful way to just center yourself. So, focus on all of those things. It's really a muscle, this creative mindset. It's a muscle that you have to practice and strengthen. And so you've got to put your mind to it and you have to be intentional. Last thing I want to tell you is beware of an all or nothing approach or mindset. If you hear yourself thinking or saying, well, rats, I wanted to sit down and write today, but I need 2 hours to do anything useful and I only have 15 minutes, so just forget it. That's all or nothing. And it's detrimental to you getting started and getting anything done. It's actually a form of procrastination, and it's you being your own worst enemy. If you say, I must have 2 hours or I'm not doing it, guarantee you will get zero done on your creative goal that day. And you won't be doing all those things I just talked about. You won't be producing some momentum. You won't be building your little baby creative muscle. You won't be feeling really great and accomplished about what you did. And you won't have some really cool fodder over here to work on next time you sit down. You'll just have zero. If you take the 15 minutes, you'll be able to do all of those things I just mentioned, and then you'll be able to build on that next time. So, um, don't overthink this. Don't feel like what you create needs to be finished. Nope. You just need to throw some things down on paper or electronically or whatever it is you're creating. So, I want to encourage you today find 15 minutes to do something creative. Just do it. Don't do something else in place of it if that's what it takes. And if you need ideas about getting started, I do have a resource free, of course, on my website. My website is robin-reynolds.com, and I've got a resource called Begin to Create. That includes some ideas for how to find time, some ideas for going out into the world and getting started, some prompts, and even a basic supply list. So today I'm excited for this Wednesday. I'm going to go out and have a fabulous day, and I'm going to be as creative as I can while I do it. And I'm wishing you the very same. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.